Alright, one thing that we've seen lately coming through the door is customers asking us to retune their cars to suit some of these ethanol based fuels, in particular E85, and we've had a few examples of that lately. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to do a little bit of testing. We've got E10 now available, E85, and just compare those fuels to 91 octane and your traditional 98 octane, and throw in the mix for the hell of it a race fuel, just to show what that would be in as a comparison. So we're going to use my car as a test mule. Just to run through the fuels, some people may or may not know that different fuels are different colours, as you can see here, and that's why I've put them in these cups. And starting down the end here, this is 91 octane. It has a purple pinky type tinge to it. Now when we talk about that 91 octane, which really is short for 91 RON, which is research octane number. That basically determines, the number 91 determines the ability for that fuel to resist knock. And 91 obviously has the least amount of ability to resist knock, 98 has more ability. So in basic terms, that means that 91 is going to see detonation in an engine before 98 will. You can see the 98 octane fuel is a nice yellow colour. We certainly recommend our customers run 98 because, you know, from a performance point of view, you're always going to get a much better result. The next fuel we've got here is E10, and you can see it's still got that pinky tinge. It actually has a little bit of a different smell to it, but effectively E10 is 10% ethanol mixed with 91 octane, and you can see that's why it's got its pink tinge, because fundamentally it's 90% normal 91 with the ethanol blend added. And that's a fairly new fuel that's been going around, heavily promoted I suppose because of the sugarcane plantations up in Queensland. Obviously it's a green fuel in some ways because you're replacing some of the gasoline requirement with a biofuel, and so I suppose that might make you feel good about using it. So we're going to test that and see, because that's something that manufacturers now in late model cars are saying that you can run with no problems. The fuel system, everything is suitable. So people are starting to use that, and I think from memory it is about 10–12 cents cheaper than say a premium unleaded. So it could be a viable option because the ethanol actually does add an octane rating. So over 91, the ethanol is about 4 points higher, so it's about a 95. So for some people that could be a good option, but I suppose we'll wait and see what our testing shows. The next fuel we've got, which you can see is quite a clear colour, that's the E85. It actually does have a very, very slight pink tinge, and I think again that's because in this case 15% of it is your 91, the rest is an ethanol base. Now it's worth pointing out that ethanol is a form of alcohol, it's in that family, and it's actually in the same family as methanol. The main difference is that methanol is actually toxic and not a fuel that you would really want to use, whereas ethanol is a biofuel, so it comes from natural products like cane and corn and that sort of thing. And from what we've seen, is a pretty awesome fuel. A couple of key things with it. It has an octane rating, or the research octane number rating on this is about 105, so it's a lot higher than 98. One of the downsides is that it does affect your fuel system. If the fuel system has a lot of rubber componentry in it, it can be susceptible to breaking down that rubber and causing failure. The other thing is that what we do know about E85 is that you will use a lot more fuel and in actual fact, we'll see in our testing, but from what we've seen in the past, as much as 20 to 30% more fuel is used, but in saying that, it can make a lot more power because obviously the octane rating being higher, you get more ignition timing into it and it's more efficient. I guess the big thing there is if you start to run out of fuel injector and pump, then you have to start replacing components to be able to run it, so that's something to consider. The final fuel that we've got, which you can see is a yellow tinge, which really, I suppose, throws a spanner in the works because that's not relevant to anything, in that this is a pure blend of race fuel. You're looking at about, $10 a litre, very expensive fuel. Absolutely purpose-built for racing and race engines. This fuel here has a RON rating of 120 odd, and is specifically designed, this fuel is specifically designed for high boost, high horsepower applications. So an engine that may be making 1500 horsepower, and we use this fuel in some of our big horsepower engines where we're running 40 pounds of boost and making over 1500 horsepower. That's what this fuel's designed for. So it'll be interesting to see in a basic combination road car if that is a benefit or whether it isn't. But that's the purpose of this test. So we've got 5 different fuels. We're going to go through them one by one. I've made a little fuel test rig up which I'll show you, and we'll go through the process on the dyno. We'll have to adjust a few settings along the way, but it'll be an interesting test and something I'm looking forward to seeing the results of. So look, to help us carry out this fuel test and to keep it consistent and not have to worry about fuel being left in the fuel tank or in the fuel lines, we've put together this little fuel test rig, little fuel cell, just a Bosch Motorsport pump, billet reg, so we can control our fuel pressure, and this actually works as the return line back into the tank here. Nice little self-contained unit, just wire it up to the power of the car. And it holds about 4 litres of fuel, just under. We can easily drain it, put some fresh fuel in, and change it and control the whole process. So nice neat little unit, and Marty's happy that I've done that because otherwise he'd be standing there for hours emptying it out into drums. So I think he's pretty happy. Alright, we just finished doing a run on the 98, which is what this car's tuned on, and it made 294 kilowatts of the wheels, which is what we'd expect, around that 300 mark. You might notice in our fuel rig here, we've actually changed the pump. We actually had problems with the Bosch pump that I'd fitted to it originally, and just looking around the workshop, I came across this big Bertha here, which is a Barry Grant 1000 horsepower electric pump. Which probably isn't a bad thing, because when we go to the E85, as I said earlier, that does require around 30% more fuel, so we certainly won't be running out of pump with that big baby. So anyway, we're going to swap over the fuel now, and we're going to go back to 91, which is a fuel that we don't normally run in this car, but I want to show you the difference between 98 and 91 on a naturally aspirated car. So I'll get Marty to drain the little tank and refill it with 91, and we'll run that up and see what sort of result we get.
Okay, we've just run Robbie's car up on 98 octane fuel just to get a base figure to make sure it's comparable to what we normally see with this car after fitting Robbie's new super duper fuel system. Everything was as we sort of expected, made about 294 kilowatts. We then put 91 octane fuel in it. 91 octane fuel we don't recommend to any of our customers generally to run, because most of our customers are performance oriented and want the best out of their car. On this one here, I had to basically pull out 7 degrees of ignition timing to stop this engine from detonating, to be able to run, just to do the graph on 91 octane. You would really notice that on the road. 7 degrees is a lot of timing to be pulling out of an engine, and you'd definitely feel the difference on the road in throttle response, in just the way the car generally drives. So on the 91 octane fuel now, we actually made 287.5. So we've lost 7 kilowatts. We're now going to put in some E10, I believe, and we'll see how that goes.
So how'd you go, Marty, with the E10?
Yeah, it was good. It was definitely better than the 91 octane. The 91 octane I had to take out 7 degrees. The E10 I had to take out 5 degrees. So.
Okay. Now E10, what's that? About 95 octane?
Yeah,
fuel?
it's roughly 95.
So it's probably somewhere in between 91 and 98. So it's probably not far off what you'd expect.
No.
The mixtures, were they the same?
No, actually went a bit leaner. Probably went about 5% leaner.
Which again you'd probably expect with the ethanol.
That's right. Yeah.
Fuel.
Yep, because the higher oxygen.
So
content.
if a customer comes in with a car like mine, or even a standard car, really running the ethanol like the E10.
Yep.
Do you recommend? Do you think we need to do some retuning?
If you've got somebody that doesn't want to spend the money on running 98 octane,
yep,
then I would say go with the E10 over going normal unleaded.
Yeah, okay, because it's going to give you almost the same benefits in terms of its knock.
It's definitely better than the 91 octane, and
really power was almost up at the same level as the 98.
It was within a kilowatt.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. Okay, all right. So what have we got next? The E85.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the most interesting fuel. So that's 85% ethanol and 15% fuel.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what that does.
Okay, we've just run it up with the E85 fuel, and it's taken a lot more timing than it did on the 98 octane fuel. It's taken, but at the same time it's a fair bit leaner. I've added 20% fuel to it and it was still a bit on the lean side, so I've just given it another 5%. We're just about out of injector on it, so there's not much further I can go with it anyway. But the power's jumped up substantially. We're sort of up around the 310 kilowatt mark at the moment. Like I said, I've just switched it up a little more and actually given it a little bit more time in just to try, and we'll see how this goes. Well, I think that the fuel is not designed for such low compression, basically.
Yeah.
The burn's too slow on the fuel
Yeah.
to make maximum power that you need on this thing.
That's exactly what I would have thought. Because I remember when we had an XR6 turbo that was running fairly big boost and making about 400 kilowatts to the wheels. Remember we tried different fuels, and in actual fact, the 109 octane fuel made more power than C16.
Yeah, that's right.
And we put that down to the fact that the burn rate of the fuel wasn't required or wasn't correct for that combination of engines.
This fuel's an overkill basically for the combination of this engine.
Yeah, if you put it into something that's running 40 pounds of boost and
then
needs the knock deterrent, to stop knock or detonation, then you'd get a benefit out of it.
That's right.
Yeah, whereas this engine doesn't need it.
So probably too slow in the burn, would you say?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's burning too slowly. Okay, we've just finished doing our fuel testing and results are pretty much what we were expecting. On the screen here, I've got the lowest and the highest graphs. The lowest being the 91 octane fuel, making 287.5 kilowatts, and the highest being the E85, making 302.3 kilowatts. We roughly worked that out. It's pretty close to a 5% power gain, which between the lowest and the highest, which is a good gain to be had on a modified vehicle when you're sort of chasing all the power you can get. As you can see, the torque difference right from the start all the way through is substantially better with the E85. About an extra 500 newtons at the back wheels. I'll bring up some of the other fuels just to show the differences. We've got the E10, which went up to 293. So that was a good gain even from the 91 octane. Going to the E10 was definitely beneficial. 98, it jumped up marginally more, went to 294.1, but in the max NOS went to 297.4. The E85, as you can see, clearly was the best fuel of the day. I believe from past experience that in a turbocharged car, it's really beneficial. We did a WRX, which we were pushing pretty hard on 98 octane fuel and making about 260 kilowatts at 4 wheels. And when we put E85 in it, we were making 300 kilowatts before we ran out of fuel pump on it. I've got a R32 GTR outside. I've got to have to tune up later on today, so we'll see how that one goes. But I'm sure with the E85, it's going to do really well. What we've got here is an R32 GTR, commonly known as Godzilla. This one here has been running around on 98 octane fuel and going quite well, and he decided to try and get a bit more out of it. So what we've done is fitted two 600 horsepower fuel pumps, 1000cc injectors, and filled the tank up with E85. Started tuning it and it was going really well. The engine responded very well with the extra ignition timing. It got to a point where I could add more timing in and the engine still didn't detonate, but it didn't make any more power. So we thought next step is to give it more boost. Started to put more boost into it and the clutch has let go. So the clutch just can't handle the power that it's now making. So it's time for a new clutch and then we'll see how it goes.
Hey Marty, you're famous, mate. You're in a magazine.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that, mate. Sachs Challenge winners, 2009 Masters.
There you go.
Hey?
That looks all right, doesn't it?
Now, more important things, how'd you go with my car?
Yeah, not too bad. Basically what we really expected, the E85 come out on top. Clearly better than any of the other fuels that we tested.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's pretty much in line with what we expected. The E10 did pretty well, didn't it?
It was the biggest surprise for me. It actually did really well, yeah.
So in some ways you could say if you tuned your car, a performance car, and I suppose that's really important, that this really isn't about what a standard car is going to do on these fuels, because we really only deal with modified cars. And so we're just looking for our customers' benefit as to what benefits they would get if they've got modifications to run these fuels. But you'd have to say from a performance point of view, E10 is a viable option. If
you can't afford to be running 98, I would still prefer the 98 over the E10. But if someone's only running 91 octane, I would definitely say go the E10 over 91 octane.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose there's substantial savings there.
That's right.
Anyway, so E85's the go.
Yep.
Now make sure I've got a full tank, mate, because as you know, I like to have maximum power under the right foot.
Yeah.
And I've got to go down to the Latrobe Valley Street Machine Show this weekend, so I might just see how we go for overtaking and also economy-wise, see what it's like.
All right.
All right.
No speeding now.
No speeding.
All right.
Hey, you're a pretty good-looking bloke, you know that. You come up all right in the photo.
Yeah.
Hey.
Can't see the grey hairs.
No grey hairs. All right, back to work.
At least I've got hair.
We've been invited down to the Latrobe Valley Street Machine Show this weekend, and we thought we'll drag out Mr. PSI, Rob's Calais, and Daniel's going to bring down his SRT8 Monster. I'm pretty sure it'll be a good weekend. Weather's perfect, and we're going to have some fun.
name's Paul Grieve. I'm part of the Latrobe Valley Street Machiners. We're a club based in Traralgon in Gippsland, and we've been around for 15 or 16 years. I actually started the car club 15 years ago with a friend of mine, and yeah, it's bloomed. We've got 30 odd members, and annually we hold this car show here today called the Latrobe Valley Street Machine Show. It's a fantastic event which raises money for the Good Friday Appeal, which is based at the Royal Children's Hospital. This is our ninth year now, Rob. Yeah, we started off nice and small at this venue. It's been a terrific venue, the Traralgon Showgrounds, and with the help of some terrific local sponsorship, and it's really come a long way in those 9 years. And we raise, between $8,000 and $10,000 every year for the Children's Hospital, which is a great effort, I think. Today we had about 210 entrants, together with our club cars of about 20 cars, and we had 20 fantastic vehicles come from Melbourne as draw cards. They were some really nice cars. So we topped 250 today, which is a terrific effort. That certainly equals our best year, which was last year, and the weather was looking a bit iffy today, so we're very pleased with that result. Yeah, we've been talking recently about the possibility of making it a two-day show. We'd like to certainly keep Sunday the same, the way it is today, but perhaps introduce a Saturday, an afternoon, a portable dyno machine, possibly caged down here with some display vehicles and some bands, and a cruise through town perhaps, if we can involve that. I think it's the next step perhaps to a bigger and better show. We've tried a few different ways over the 9 years, Rob. We started with about 40 different local sponsors based in Latrobe Valley who used to help us with an equal amount of money. That became quite difficult to administer 40 different businesses leading up to the event, so we've chosen a different route. 2 or 3 major sponsors. One of them's Carline Mufflers. They're a terrific organisation based here in Traralgon. Of course, they're an Australia-wide company, but the Traralgon and Morwell franchises are sensational. Together with Shannon's Insurance, they've been on board now for quite a few years, and they're terrific.